Hey guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to a modern RPG thing, because this time I would like to look at Geto Ratz. Now this is an RPG which has come out this year from SpiderFly, more specifically from a writer who calls himself SpiderFly. Now the way I found out about this was he reached out to me in the channel to ask me if I wouldn't mind having a look at his game. And of course I was absolutely delighted to. I love shining light on new RPGs and letting people see what's going on in new games, in games which are independent like this one, which don't have the publicity of some of the massive games. My channel doesn't have an extraordinary reach, but I can show it off to a few people. But of course I sent him through my usual disclaimer that I cannot guarantee a good review. I am very, very positive about role-playing games, but I can't guarantee what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to say. I can't guarantee to somebody else what I'm going to say in the future. But he reached back out straight away and sent me through a copy of Black Alleys and Black Markets, which is a supplement for Geto Ratz, which he thinks fleshes out a lot of things. And we'll have a glimpse through that, but I'm majorly putting the spotlight on Geto Ratz because it's quite an impressive piece of work. He also, if I can switch on, sent me through this rather wonderful map showing the breakdown of North America in the setting of Geto Ratz. Very, very nice stuff, but as I said, let's focus on the rulebook itself. Now, this is a major piece of work. It's 326 pages long. A lot of that is equipment and stuff, though. If we have a look at back cover, first of all, flick through to that. Geto Ratz is a tabletop RPG developed by SpiderFly Inc. Struggle to survive in a cruel and chaotic biopunk dystopia with a wealth of unique weapons, body augmentations, vehicles of rites, and malware. Fight for your life against a whole beastiary of monsters and madmen in a fast-paced combat system designed to maximize bloodshed. Scrape together your cash with dozens of devious downtime activities, build up your reputation to buy valuable contacts, and make your mark on the zone. Take on floors to purchase not only valuable stats, but from a laundry list of useful and unique perks. Dead character? No problem. Geto Ratz uses a roguelite character creation system, so you get rewarded even when you fail. Most importantly, watch your back, because one knife is all it takes. Will your players achieve their dreams, or will they find themselves as just another handful of ghosts left to wander the dying world? Shoot, stab, and smile your way through the cold streets of the zone, with a system that's all about rolling with spite and losing with style. Drink yourself senseless in barren bars and sleep with one eye open in the wondrous wastelands of the rotten world. Can't save everyone, but can you save yourself? And let's go through it. This is a post-apocalyptic game, but quite a bit after, 100 years after the apocalypse. And I really like the way the apocalypse is laid out in it. It's a very brief description, but it lays out that the apocalypse started with computer viruses. And the various nation-states and corporations and everything released computer viruses. Nobody will really know who started it, but they started shredding what was in the internet. And all the tech which is based on the internet stopped working within a day or so. And as society instantly crumbled, the nation started setting off bioweapons, mutating and deforming the population, creating a very hostile environment, releasing new species across there. And as that absolutely ravaged the population, who already had lost everything as online banking and shopping had all gone, they released ghost bombs, which I think are supposed to be nuclear bombs. 100 years later, it blasted out and it turned people into ghosts. If you think of the imagery round about Hiroshima and Nagasaki, where people burnt up and they just left the burnt shadow on the wall behind them, it literally, a nuclear bomb turned people into ghosts. I think that's what it's telling us. And it destroyed much of the population. But 100 years later, people have built up massive zones, fortified against the monstrosities which wander the wastelands. And they are building up amongst the technology of the old world. They've developed some new stuff, etc., etc. The world is set up kind of like Shadowrun is. Spider himself suggested that this game was like Shadowrun, and I do see that, in that it's setting up a world and then setting up the player's part in it. Because the players are going to be survivors. They're going to be street thugs, gangs, survivors among the apocalypse who are trying to find just ways of living. So your missions will be very much about that. You're not being hired by massive corporations, although rich people might hire you to do tasks for them to reward you, and then you can survive through that by technology, by weapons, etc. Going inside, the layout is very, very clean and fresh. There's a fair amount of artwork throughout it, but there's not lots of backgrounds. It's not making my eyes work too hard. I can read it all fairly easily. Got a table of contents. Now, as I said, it's quite long, so I'm going to flick through it fairly quickly. This is only a flick through, as I introduce you to what's in the book and what I've discovered in reading through parts of it. We'll do a full rules breakdown in the future, and we'll go into the system in more detail. I like the fact that if you wanted something clean, inspiring, and more than 34% digested, I'm sorry you wasted a fistful of loonies. Loonies, of course, the man's Canadian. Forward by Jax Pagan, which describes how the world collapsed. Section 0, World Gone Rotten. So it's called the Rotten World. On the first day, there was cyber war, the whole internet torn apart by military-grade malware, EMPs, viruses, the works. On the day, most of the internet structure, as well as all the technology that was dependent on it, was inoperable. On the second day came the bioplague, synthetic pestilences meant to target and devastate every aspect of life on the planet. From fungi, weeds, and moss, which made agricultural land useless and quickly overwhelmed entire cities, to bacteria, which poisoned most of the world's fresh water, to viruses which killed off both animals and humans in the hundreds of millions. Finally, on the third day, the ghost bombs fell, and the world has never been the same since. It's been 141 years since the world ended. Society is beginning to rebuild. Massive quarantined safety havens have expanded into towering mega cities. These are cosmoplexes. And we get through, so we talk through the redevelopment zone. And I love the way he lays out not only what you see, but the sounds of it, the smell of it, the taste of it, the touch of it, and your feeling, your sixth sense. You know, the zeitgeist of the place, to give you a real tone of the world very, very quickly. Make ends meet. So we go through talking about skill rolls, contested skill checks. This is the rules section. Now, one of my criticisms of this book is that it is split by the sections without marking them. So, legacy points here up high on the page. Not all dreams come true, that's why they're dreams after all, but hey, someone's have to write. The GM and player can both agree the character has accomplished their legacy. So it continues up with levels being the next section, stats being the next section, skills being the next section. I found myself reading to the bottom of the page and then reading the next column so many times and getting confused and having to refocus. If he'd added some kind of bars between the sections, that would have been so much better. But that's one of the points that he makes, that this isn't completely baked, it's a one-man's dream of a game. Anyway, we go through the different rules things, street smarts, only humans, perks and flaws, examples, folding in the heart of the cards. So it talks about using playing cards to add tone to the game. Section 2, who needs a hero? So we go through the classes, but these are social classes. So we've got spears. These are sovereign citizens, essentially stateless tycoons who move from tax haven to tax haven. We've got auroras, original citizenship. An A-class indicates you've been citizen of the Cosmoplex since birth. Baroque, political citizen. And it goes through all of them. We've got dancers, exiles, Fargo, wards, and how to make your Geto Rat. So we've got some examples here. An exercise Geist. Their description and their various stats here. Their abilities and what equipment they've got. A gun dog, slick, a blade, a go-hawk, wild blood. And then we've got stuff about setting up families. So roll a d6. You can talk about where your family come from, your character's history, their dreams. Welcome back roll. We've got cost of living. Then we're into the real deal. So we've got perks. And again, this is a little hard to read through because they're just big blocks of text. Just all of these listed down. Pages of these. Then we've got lists of flaws. And these are just lists. So voices. This character takes +1 stress whenever burning ghosts. A 3-point flaw. Bad feeling. Take +1 stress every week that nothing bad happens. We've got legacy perks. And we've got protect your neck, section 4. So talking about damage. You can get psychological scars. Knock 'em dead. So we're talking through sort of combat here. Again, my eye keeps going to the bottom and jumping up. It is a major problem for me to get around that, but as I read more and more, I get used to it. But as I go away and read other books, I get a little confused when I come back. Anyway, we've got combat actions, movement actions, intermission actions, advanced combat rules, making a name, and reputation. Now, this is one of the interesting points of the game, especially after you finish a mission, an adventure, that the experience you get when you complete a mission is based around how you hype up what you did. Now, I tend to hand out experience to the entire party, not just to individual players. I tend to keep everybody at the same level. But this is the point when the people who can speak well can come up and say, oh, well, so-and-so did this, and that really helped out. And they spread the legend. And as you spread the legend, you can get extra experience for it. You get the experience based on how well you're telling the story and building up the hype of how cool you are and effective you are in the city. And that's a really interesting idea, because even if you absolutely mess up an adventure, as long as you can spin it very positively, you can get a load of experience for it, which is an interesting thing to do. I like that a lot. So we've got showdowns, the Cho system, friends and foes, a long way from St. Kansas. So it talks about traveling around the Rotten World. It talks about how planes are no longer trusted because there's so few places to fuel them that it's far easier to just travel on the surface. But we've got a section talking about districts of the Cosmoplex. So redevelopment zones, talking about weather. This is all just setting out how the world works. Extreme environmental effects. We've got Ghost Punk. So talk about the Ghost Matrix there. Different types of rites that can be used. Last rites, the New Pantheon. Alchemical goods, familiars, enchantment. Lots and lots of optional rules in here. The Bleak Communion. Technology. Technology isn't what it once was. The war set us back nearly a century. Of course, it affected every sector differently. So it's talking about how technology works differently. We've got different types of networks, data storage, hacking, including different types of computer. And this is where we get large lists of stuff again. This is what the game doesn't do too effectively. It's giving you an absolute mass of things to look through, but just puts them as big lists. I do think if this had been trimmed down and put into the sourcebook, it would have been more effective to just give you a few choices of each. But it's giving you an absolutely massive amount of choices here. So we've got biomechanical augmentations and big lists of what you can get. Skeletrons, wolf weaves, basilisks, ballistic bracers, warbird combat technologies Wendigo, a lightweight combat mech suit. The Rat of Main Street. So, talking about the life of a ghetto rat. What they might be doing, making dollars, art of the job, different types of jobs they'll be doing, kick jobs, patchwork, suicide runs. And breaking it down very, very detailed on what kind of adventures and things that your players will be doing. Dogging dope, trafficking, shoot and loot, hustles, go clean or go home, legally innocent, turf wars as an optional rule. Gat glaives and gear, so more equipment. We've got fuel here, camping kits, ghost counters, a Geiger counter. And then we've got massive lists of weapons. We've got all the ammo here, so different types of ammunition and what that does for damage. So 9mm Eagle Eye does +2 accuracy, d20 damage, but 38 Reading Express does +1 accuracy, d20 +2 damage. Brawling rules, and then a big weapons catalogue. Now, it's not very well laid out. We've just got names and what the stats of the weapon are. I would have liked a short paragraph of a description, even if you're going into modern day weapons. The British Army use the L80, I think it's called, a bullpup rifle, and describing it as a bullpup rifle, which is useful for fighting indoors because the shortened length where most of the barrel is behind the trigger allows you to maneuver it indoors, whereas the US military uses used the M16, which was a long gun, so when they were going inside they would have to use a shorter rifle. It's just flavor text, and I would have loved it. Just, which pistol is the one that looks intimidating that you're going to stick on somebody's nose and they're going to be scared. But we have pages and pages of guns here. Rockets, martial weapons, weapons mods. We're on to vehicles, which do have a short description, so no problem with the vehicles. I'm quite happy with that. I would love if there was pictures, but I'm greedy that way. But we've got all the descriptions of the vehicles, we've got medical supplies, street drug cheat sheets, which again have massive descriptions, addictions tables, different optional rules, outposts and hidey holes, and then we're on to meet the monsters, so our beastiary section. Now with this, we do get pictures for everything. I love this. So we've got different types of monsters here. We've got fiends, hooligangers, angry mobs, black hats, gunslingers, trash cultists, zorai, mobsters, biobushi. And we're going up into more powerful ones, so yellow jackets, Cerberus, interior security forces, corpo cultists, bolos, razors, templars, degenerators, oligarchs, dragoons, paramilitary, mayflowers, feedland fugitives, feedland terrorists, horsehounds, highwaymen, sellswords, drones, wake-in warriors, meta beasts, hack rabbits, rat hounds, trash foxes, striders, guts, swarm of flesh locusts, murder of murder beaks. Quite an interesting play on that as well, a group of crows being a murder. Blood guzzlers, red widows, craven wolves, psycho spiders, hellcats, savage swine, death rattles, all with description, many of them with images. Mimic mouth sharks, weeping bison, sewer dragons, gore bears, absolutely massive arms on that one, do like that design. Jaeger moors. And we've got twisters. The animals weren't the only things that changed. Our corpses have become infested by ghosts. So, corpses, gorgers, insides out, ramblers, gang of creeps, man crabs, tickers, drowners, rat killer biofreaks, ravers, moonburned, moulders, alley anglers, flayers. Looks like a mass of tentacles that draw you into a massive maw. Ferals, smilers, lurkers, mangles, writhes, howlers, hybrids, mushroom kings, night crawlers. If that's a sort of human, it's very interestingly mutated. I do like the sideways mouth, almost like a pair of scissors. And we've got spirits themselves, so the ghosts, fragmented memories imprinted across space and time. Banshee, phantoms, polters, wraiths. We've got the fallen, so ghost bleeders, kinslayers, furies. It talks about creating NPCs and gives you a blank template. So we've got a level 20 fixer, 16 Gundog, level 16 Fixer. And then we're going on to different terms in this rotten world of ours. The different factions within the world. religions, metrosec, the syndicates, different machines, highwaymen, the Wakin, rads, so gangs and corporations and government types. Now, giving you tone here. So, after the apocalypse, the city and the state, these disgruntled states of America, the 13 stars of red, black, and blue. Just again, fleshing out the world in a wonderful way. We've got a map of a city and an adventure, Sad Songs in Scarlem Central. So it's giving you a tone for what you're going to be doing. A nice starting adventure. So we go through the adventure, different areas that you move through. Fleshing out Scarlem City. A fumbled farewell as we get towards the end. The Zone Master cheat sheet. Again, it's an RPG which is giving the Games Master a special title. I don't like that. A Games Master is a Games Master, but that goes back to Dungeons and Dragons did it with the Dungeon Master. So we got off on a bad start, and more famous games, Call of Cthulhu uses the Keeper of Secrets and all that. So I'm not going to complain too loudly, but much prefer people just called it a Games Master so I know what they're talking about. So we've got the cheat sheets there, and that's us at the back. And going over to back alleys and black markets, this is a bunch of additional stuff. Now, I'm not that keen on the format of this one. I love that Geto Ratz itself is so clean and easy to read, but this is all coloured text on black backgrounds. It's far more well illustrated, but I've got lazy eyes, as do all humans, that we prefer to read black text on a white background. It's far easier to read, and this being white on a black, and then we go through to white on green. But we've got different pages here of stuff being added. The war on drugs, scampires, the St. Kansas Stock Exchange, rules modifications, hobbies, different items, different rules. I'm just going to flick through it very quickly because, as I said, I wanted to focus on the main rules. We've got different systems here. We're going to come to a beastiary fairly soon. More side hustles, things that your characters can do between missions. Updated perks and flaws. The gangs of Scarlem, so we've got different gangs. And we've got some creatures here, so I skipped over the pigeon head, Dandy Man, the Slake, who seems to be showing a certain part of his anatomy there, the Tunnel Pig, a flight of sky rats, of rat gods, and the back cover. Parting is such sweet sorrow. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't relieved to be finished with this expansion. I'm honoured to be able to provide a Day Zero DLC to my millions of adoring clients. In all seriousness, I hope that this document can help you breathe some sickly life into your games, and that you get plenty of game-breaking exploits out of this new content. More importantly, I hope you're content, dear reader, to do your best to enjoy your time in this rotten world. It may be in short supply, but it's all we've got. SpiderFly 2025. So, that is Geto Ratz. I really like the world he's setting up. A post-apocalyptic world with some progress made to it, and you're living within the ruins, but the world is trying to pick itself up. So, it's not just Fallout where you're picking amongst the ruins completely. It's not Shadowrun where it's this world which is shaken up a bit. The world has totally been changed, but the ruins are there. You're living amongst the technology of the old world. You are picking amongst stuff for survival on a day-to-day basis, and there are lots of new monsters and stuff out there. As I said earlier, even if Spider hadn't mentioned that this is a Shadowrun-like game or world, I think I'd have picked that up. I really like the storytelling aspect of it, where your players go out and boost themselves up. It's in what they say they did, rather than what they did in an adventure which gets them experience, which is a rather lovely twist on it. Allows, especially like me, if you let the entire group, the people who tend to play more verbal characters won't take the part in action scenes. But with this, they can spin up their part and gain the entire group more experience. You can get the players who can describe things well to do that even after combat, which they weren't that involved with. Anyway, as usual, I think I've been wittering on for quite enough. I'll try and link to everything down below, so if you want to check it out for yourself, there'll be a link down there somewhere. But thank you very much for watching. And as always, most of all, you look after yourselves. And I'll catch you later. Bye now.